Chilling tales for dark nights.
Knuckle's Supper. Written by Stepek. Performed by Jason Hill. Chapter 26. Kings. I didn't try to resist the ass-beating the cloth unleashed upon me when we got back to St. Matthew's. I deserved it, but not for the reasons the cloth thought. I deserved it because I knew the person whose face I bisected. We had struggled together with all the other vamp junkies on the streets. He was part of the group I ran with while we learned about how to take care of ourselves, building makeshift tents to ward off the sun, learning how to roll drug dealers, testing our strengths and weaknesses. We had all been the same, trying to find our way in this nightmare existence, simply trying to figure out how we would survive each day. This guy had given me my first pack of cigarettes, and had inadvertently given me my name. The day that Pico came to fish me out of the alley, not everyone wanted to leave and start anew. They insisted they would find their own way, their own packs. So, I said my sincere goodbyes and rarely saw any of them again unless I somehow found myself at the various vampire lairs, collecting money for King Cobra. It was like we had all forgotten what we'd done for each other. Our communication became less and less, and tonight, it ended in me silencing forever one of those first friends I'd ever had. Even after I did their bidding, the demon hunters laughed while cattle prods, hammers, and guns pummeled me in my cell, reminding me that I would still never be human, and how worthless I really was. I don't want to do this, I told Herman. I could hear the merriment of the rent-a-priests die down as they left their gymnasium until their voices finally ended altogether. Assholes. Herman caressed the top of his helmet. I have to ask you again, Reynolds. Why do you care? Those Wanger fools never did anything for you or anybody else. You heard Nomi. He's dead now, and guess what? You aren't his bitch. Let's just get this all done. He didn't get it. There was no way he understood or would ever understand what happened back at the whorehouse. My body was filled with resentment and loneliness instead of blood and life. All I could hear in my head were the screams of the people I just helped massacre. If I hadn't been so loose-lipped about bait being left at the Batcave, the trannies wouldn't have even been a blip on the cloth radar. What's wrong with you? You act like you never killed anyone before. Pull your pants up and deal with it. You wanted this. You were the one convincing me. He was right. I splashed water into a deep laceration on my arm. It's more than that. They didn't do anything to us. They didn't do anything to the cloth other than exist. Whatever, he replied, fluffing his pillow for bed. He had taken a lighter beating than me for some reason. They turned your little bitch out and they were thinking that they ran my streets. I heard what he said. He said, since we've been out of the scene, there's a new way. Defeated, I leaned forward on the sink. Who cares about that street bullshit? I care, bitch. I run Los Angeles. I will, fool. Herman brushed the quickly formed scabs off his body. It was shocking that he never had a heart attack from healing at such a rapid pace. So I guess the BBPs are next. I hate them more. I can't wait to rip their smug little faces off. I already told you I'm out. If they kill me or leave me locked in here, I don't care. You're on your own. Didn't it feel good, Reynolds? Didn't it feel good to kill somebody? We've been in here so long now, it felt like jumping back on a bike. It felt natural. The door opened at the end of the hall. Herman rubbed his hands together as if our guests was room service and he was starving. Shit, are they ready for more? I heard Fat Mac's soft footfalls nearing us. He was accompanied by the familiar sound of clicking, dragging, and wavering high heels. Knowing that the cloth was too busy with their post-kill fiesta to mind the lights, Herman pressed up against his bars. Yo, Fat Mac, we going out again? Are we going to get some more of our kill on? With the Habit walking in front of him, he crossed my cell, heading toward Herman. He had a gun to her head. Even though she tried to bitch and moan, she was muffled by a sock duct taped to her mouth. At least I wouldn't have to hear that lame catchphrase. What's all this about, Mac? I asked as I splashed water on the Habit. There's been a change of plans, he answered, pushing the Habit dangerously close to Herman's bars. Or, at least I have reconsidered the plans. Herman reached out of his cell and tickled at the Habit's nose with his fingernail. Hi, he whispered. What do you mean? You gonna kill us all now? McAteer pulled the Habit away from the bars and threw her against the wall. Petrifatio duos, he said into his microphone. As if fresh air had entered my body for the first time in my life, the corkscrew unlatched from my neck and dropped to my feet. I cracked my neck on both sides and felt the imprint left by the collar. I don't get it. I stepped backward, expecting to be torched by the lights. Holy shit, Reynolds. Herman hopped around like he was doing jumping jacks. His collar was still firmly attached. They're gonna let us go now. See? I told you. Shut up, Herman. I headed back to my bed and dragged the mattress over by the toilet where I planned to dunk my head as soon as the UV lamps flamed on. He is partly correct, Mr. Reynolds. The guards are off duty. There is nothing stopping you from escaping. Herman raised his hand. What about me? Fat Mac ignored him and continued. You are human, Mr. Reynolds. You're more human than I am. Not being ignored, Herman shook at his bars, much to my unease at the latest development. What about me, motherfucker? What right did we have to do the work of God? Mac intensified his voice. What right do we have to take it away? Turn around, fool! Herman screamed as he reached out of his cell and tried to grab Mac's arm. From behind, the Habit quickly disarmed the priest and, without hesitation, blasted him near the heart. He cascaded to the floor like he'd just been ragdolled at a biker bar. Unable to move his right arm, he began praying with his left. I raced to the bars and started bending and opening. Herman did the same. The Habit rose up behind Fat Mac, wobbly from whatever drugs she was currently on, and popped off a few rounds at Herman and then at me. Her drug-enhanced targeting system didn't lend itself to accuracy. A bullet breezed my jugular and knocked me over the sink. I tried to stem the blood emptying out of my neck as best I could and crawled back to the bars. Several more shots scattered into Herman's cell. You ruined my life, she screamed after ripping off the tape and spitting out the gag. Fat Mac pulled himself to the cell, continuing to pray. The Habit raised the gun to the preacher's head. See you in hell, asshole. She squeezed the trigger and the bullet pierced directly into his head. Not letting a few bullets slow him down, Herman was back at the bars, trying to break them open. She fired more bullets his way, stopping only to shoot into my cell every 5 or so rounds. Despite her horrible marksmanship, one bullet nailed me in the upper thigh and another skimmed my shoulder. Without taking her eyes off Herman, she dropped the first clip out of the 9mm and nabbed another from under the nun's garb. Even though I didn't get a good look at its origin, I imagine she hid it in her ass or her vagina. I'm gonna finally kill you, bitch, Herman shouted. Not surrendering to his threats, she continued to unload round after round into him. The bullets did little to deter the massive Rasta, and he was almost out of the cell. Thinking quickly, the Habit grabbed Fat Mac's collar and pulled him up from the ground. Gray matter vomited up from the hole in his head. She bent down, sneering, and cleared her throat. No! I screamed, racing back to the bars. I tried to shred the metal, pawing through the bars at her head. Herman was oblivious to anything other than getting out of his cell. Then, in what seemed like a split second, she hissed into Fat Mac's microphone. Had Stringo Gooter. She kicked the dead priest at my cell and ran away down the hall toward the exit. As the gun smoke cleared and blood pooled into my cell from Mac and Herman, I saw the Rasta King sitting with his back against one half of his table. The corkscrew tightened around his neck, but he wasn't struggling. He wasn't even twitching. I dragged myself to the bars that no longer divided us. He looked at me squarely as his eyes clogged with blood that spilled down his cheeks like tears. His breathing slowed, and I felt his life departing from the basement of the church where he was born subject to. I felt everything about the person that I feared most in the world. I didn't reach into a cell to help. If I had listened to the voice command to disengage the collars, I could have saved him. Like he said weeks before, though, I never listened to anybody but myself. His lips quivered, and his nostrils flared as his tongue scratched away at the roof of his mouth. I read your file. You did come from royalty, I said to him. You are a king, brother. King fucking Cobra. One last smile etched on his face as more blood bubbled out. Before his life ended completely, he looked at me like I was his sibling, and he said, "Thanks, RJ." Good evening. This is Jason Hill, host of the Horror Hill podcast. You've been listening to a chapter from the award-winning novel Knuckle Supper by best-selling author Drew Stepek. Knuckle Supper, Ultimate Gutter Fix Edition, and its critically acclaimed sequel, Knuckleballed, are available now from Bloodbound Books. Check out the links in the video description and sticky comments below to pick up a copy today and show your support for indie horror. Also, please consider making a donation to Children of the Night today and help end teen prostitution and human trafficking. Children of the Night is a privately funded nonprofit organization established in 1979 with the specific purpose of providing intervention in the lives of children who are sexually exploited and vulnerable to, or involved in, prostitution and pornography. Visit childrenofthenight.org for more information today. From author Drew Stepek and all of us here at Chilling Tales for Dark Nights, thanks for listening and for your support.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.